You are now watching On Point, a news and public affairs show from California State University, Northridge.
Hello and welcome to On Point. My name is Vanessa Roque, and today we will learn about the ongoing battle between unions and government officials in California. With me today, I have two knowledgeable guests. We have Professor Nate Thomas, and we have Nataly Torres, who is a student worker. Professor, what is your role here at CSUN?
Well, I have a couple of roles. I am a professor of cinema and television arts, and I head up the film production program. And I've been on the campus for about 33 years. And the other role is that I'm president of the Northridge chapter of the California Faculty Association, which is the union or collective bargaining unit for the 29,000 faculty in CSU.
Amazing. Nataly, what is your role here at CSUN?
So I work at the University Library in the Special Collections and Archives Department. I've been working there since my freshman year, so about 4 years now. My role with the unionizing, I'm technically an organizer in training. It's my internship, but we're trying to get a union for student workers on all CSU campuses.
Do you have any mentors for that?
Mentors?
That might work for the union, or how did you fall into this role? Because that's pretty, that's a fine niche.
Yeah. So we have a specific organizer who is emailing all the student workers. I saw her email one day and I reached out because it was definitely something I wanted to get involved in. And her name is Emily Haig. I didn't know that there was an internship for it. I was just expecting to volunteer, and then she told me you can actually be an organizer in training and help us out, and then that's how I got involved.
And that was just fate.
Yeah.
First email.
First email.
Professor, how long have you been involved in feeling strongly about unions and working with the CSUN company?
Well, it all started when I was a kid. I grew up in the Midwest in Ohio, and steel mills were big. And my dad was a steel worker, and he would talk about unions. He was a person of color, and he talked about how the unions really helped to protect their jobs and helped to open up opportunities for people of color. So I heard all these stories about unions are good, that it helps to protect your job and make everything at the workplace much better because you are a partner in that job, in the rules and regulations and the working conditions when you have a union that you have to negotiate a contract. So I heard this from age 8, age 9, that unions were a part of America, but for the working class, it was your voice.
How do you feel, thank you for sharing, Professor. Nataly, hearing this, do you feel like this is going to be something that, after you graduate, that this is going to be something that's held dear to you as well? Do you feel morally obligated to speak up for, your classmates and professors?
Yeah, definitely. I became more passionate about the union and all of that because, I myself have experienced some of the cons of not having a union. Student workers, we don't get any benefits or anything like that. So, during the COVID pandemic, there was no sick pay when I got COVID. When I got jury duty, we didn't get compensated for missing a week. I mean, you're excused, of course, they're not gonna fire you for missing, but I lost a week paycheck, and that can seriously affect many people who rely on the student assistant jobs as their primary source of income. Missing a week could really put you back on rent or groceries. So that's what really inspired me to start getting involved. And when I read the email, that's why I was I really want this. I didn't know if it was possible for it to happen while I'm still here. So I'm really glad definitely future generations, they will have a union to protect their benefits.
That's important. I see the value in having being part of a union. Professor, do you feel that being so heavily involved with the unions and things like that throughout the years, have you noticed a trend in morale within your colleagues and within the people that you are serving the union with?
It's probably one of the reasons that I'm still involved as a leader in the union, and I go to a lot of statewide meetings in Sacramento or San Francisco, or at the Capitol. We do lobby days to really lobby for not only better working conditions, but we lobby for we lobby for just a better environment, better education for our students as well. So one of the reasons that I stay involved, I love this campus and I love the mission of this campus, and I've watched this campus transform over the years to be a more diverse campus. But it's a lot of work, and higher education and the education field, period, we're losing people, even in the high school areas or the elementary school areas. But we're just losing people because the pay really isn't commensurate with the work that we do. It's a lot of work, and so I'm just on board to making sure that everybody that works here, that's, like you said, the morale's there, that we can give all we want to give to the students and inspire them to be the best that they can be. But we have a saying in our union, in the CFA, the California Faculty Association, we have a saying that faculty working conditions are student learning conditions. So if the faculty aren't happy, or the faculty can't pay their rent, or they're stressed about parental leave or whatever, benefits or whatever that you get on a job, then it kind of goes to the classroom. And I would want people to understand that. During the pandemic, people tend to forget that while we were helping the students, some of our families were dying and suffering from COVID and losing their jobs. Folks forget that we still had to teach and inspire students and advise students when we were also dealing with our own kinds of stuff that could affect the classroom. So even when we're out of the pandemic, we want the morale there. We want the morale happy. We want folks feeling good about where they work and what they do and feeling appreciated. So I think a union helps that, because you are a partner in your working conditions. You negotiate a CBA, which is a collective bargaining agreement. So every aspect of your job is written down, and both sides are supposed to adhere to that.
The union almost seems like it's a family.
It is. It is a family, but it's a support system. It's really, really a support system. And in some rare cases, there are problems. And the union has a system of if you can't solve the problem, then the union can't get involved, especially if an article is violated in that collective bargaining agreement. So we have 40 plus articles in the California Faculty Association. And again, if that is violated, there is a process that we'd have to go through on the campus with the administration. In worst case scenario, it can go all the way to the chancellor's office in arbitration. So if you don't have a union, it's pretty one-sided.
Have you ever been to a union's meeting where you feel like they're bound with either funding, or if they're bound by laws, or I'm not exactly sure on the terminology, but you feel like they can't really make that move or that decision? How do you move forward with that, or how do you boost morale after that?
Well, as far as the unions are concerned, we all have rules and regulations that we have to follow. And funding, you do pay dues. So members of a union, they do pay dues, and that's what supports the work of the union. And also, aside from that, you can opt in to pay political action dues. You don't have to, but the political action dues are really helpful to the union, because that keeps us in tune with the legislature and getting legislation passed that will help not only our working conditions, but will help the education that we're given to the students. So our union is not only about the faculty and working conditions, it's also about the mission of the CSU and being able to educate. Many are first generation working class students, not all, but we have a mission, and this university, I think, serves some students a little differently than some of the private universities. USC would have a different mission, or Harvard would have a different mission than the California State University system or CSUN. So the unions help us, in support of the work that we're doing, and there, monetarily, we do pay dues, so that's generally not a problem. But there are rules to follow as far as that CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. There are rules to follow on both sides, the administration as well as the faculty union. There are rules.
Professor, I'd love to revisit that, and after we've got a tease here coming up. Writers and actors have been on strike for over 100 days. Everything from SAG-AFTRA, the Writers Guild of America, hotel workers, and here at California State University, they are currently at the negotiation table.
Right now, the statewide minimum wage is at $15.50. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, between the years 2020 and 2023, prices have increased by 17.9%. 2 weeks ago, the California State University's employee union gathered here at CSUN in attempts to bargain with the CSU and Board of Trustees over wage increases.
We're here because we're bargaining and we're trying to, with the Chancellor's Office, the CSU, and we're trying to get step raises back for everybody, students, faculty, staff, everybody.
As of now, employees are paid under an open range merit system, which prevents workers from getting raises unless they apply for it, having to prove they deserve it. Which is why the CSU EU workers are pushing for a merit salary scale system instead.
We are protesting today in the fight to raise wages because everything is so expensive, and we the people are fighting for survival because we're struggling to pay for the necessities.
The CSU did fail to offer improvements at this meeting. The CSU EU plans to continue voicing their demands for wage increases. The next bargaining session will be on September 19th at the CSU Dominguez Hills. From Northridge, Carolina Teo, On Point.
I never graduated from high school. I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Thank you for watching On Point. I'm Vanessa Roque, and with me I have Professor Nate Thomas, and I have student worker Nataly Torres. Professor, were you at that march?
The CSUE, we did have a union representation. I was in class that day, but we did have representation there, and we are supportive of our sibling unions, and they're very supportive of us because we have the same goal, and that is you work at a university, and there's a mission of this university, and be it the groundskeeper, be it the folks in the office, or be it the professors, is one goal, and that's to serve the mission of the university, which is to educate and get our students employed and get them to be productive citizens in our world. So that's my goal. That's the goal of those CSUEU members. I have to get that word right. But yeah. That's the goal. But we have been very supportive, and we all know each other. We know the leadership, and again, we're all a team. We're a team.
How does it feel to know that they're out there marching for equality?
It's good to see that people are involved. Sometimes people aren't. Sometimes people stay in the background, and people want others to do it. That doesn't work that way. Everybody's got to get involved. And so when I see the folks, the Teamsters on the campus, even our doctors, they're unionized, and they're, everybody just wants what's fair for everybody because it makes a better campus. It really does. And so it's good to see folks getting riled up. And sometimes you have to get riled up. Sometimes you can't be quiet about it, or things won't get done. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Nataly, were you at the march?
I unfortunately couldn't go because I was at work, but I definitely wanted to be there because, like Professor Nate was saying, it is like we have power in numbers, and I've definitely felt that sense of community with CSUEU. Like if we do get a union, we would student workers would be a part of that one, and they already call us Unit 15 because they know we're gonna be a part of them, and it's been honestly very refreshing, having all this support. Even my supervisors, they want us to succeed in this, and it's definitely, it makes an impact when you have more people, and there was actually a rally just like ours, like the clip you showed, but at Dominguez Hills. And we had a student worker speak in front of everyone, and they made some good points about how student success relies on staff success. So even though the bargaining wasn't really for student workers, we still want to show like we're supporting them. We're going to fight in numbers because we have over 20,000 student workers, and like once we get a union, like us getting benefits improves staff benefits, because right now we're doing the same work as union staff members but getting none of the benefits, and that drives down all the benefits for everyone. So
walking onto campus, do you find yourself educating other students that might not know about what this union is about or how important it is to have a union on board for these student workers?
I haven't walked up to any random people, but I definitely always bug my coworkers about it. Like everyone who works in the library, we have a group chat for the entire university library staff, and I put some updates in there about the union stuff.
I can imagine you making some flyers and kind of just educating the campus, because I feel like that would be amazing just to kind of hear your voice. Like, this is something that you feel strongly about, so I would love to hear what you have to say, because not only do you go to school here, but you work here. So I feel like you could be the face in the forefront of this movement.
Yeah, one of my supervisors actually, they take pictures whenever there's rallies, and they were very proud to show me that I came out in a picture, and they're like, I saw you. And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. But there's so much support from the CSUEU union members.
I haven't mentioned just yet, and I want to hear what both of you have to say about the 6% tuition hike. How do you feel like this is going to affect future students?
It was very disappointing to hear about that, especially because I was there rallying at the Board of Trustees the day before. We were making a lot of noise, I had high hopes, and then, that happened, and it was kind of just a wake-up call that, the Board of Trustees is going to do whatever they want, and, that kind of just goes to show, us not having a union, not having a voice, they're going to do whatever they want with us. They know that they're pushing union work on us and paying us cheaper because, it saves them money, and that's really, I feel like it's all about profit in that sense. I don't know, I obviously don't approve of the tuition raise.
Professor, if we could lightly dust on this, because we've got a little bit of time here before we head to the next clip.
Okay.
But she feels powerless. It seems like she feels powerless. What could we do in this situation where she feels bound by these rules and regulations?
Well, the first thing they're doing is the best thing is trying to get unionized, because there's more power with a union. That's just the bottom line. But I think even if you don't have a union, you still have power, because you still have power in numbers. And rallies and bringing attention to things and getting the press out there to cover it, those are just effective. And they really are. And it's all about PR. It's about perception. And as you had said, that the Writers Guild, and they're back at the table. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA, and they're obviously on strike as well. So they get the publicity. So one of the reasons I think that the writers are going back to the table is that the polls, the national polls, show that the public are in support of the UAW. The public's in support of the writers' strike. The public generally gets behind the teachers and professors when they're having labor disputes. So I think that's why they're back at the table, is because it's on the news that 80% of Americans think that the writers are right. So now, as we just seen, we hear that the heads of all these studios now were in the bargaining room, which they're never there. You have a bargaining team. I hear that the head of Netflix and the head of some of the other studios were at the table. It's because of the perception and the publicity. So even with the students, you get the publicity, you still have power. But yeah.
Thank you for continuing to watch On Point. We are going to now watch a clip of what students have to say about what's going on with the union.
What are your thoughts on employees unionizing?
Oh, that is a tough question.
I feel like unionizing would
probably give the employees more power than they already do?
I think it's a good idea. It's for a great cause, especially in today's environment with the workforce and how most Americans are overworked.
Yeah, I think unionizing is great, actually. It gives bargaining power to people, whereas their bosses are working for big millionaires or billionaires.
I mean, I don't know. I think it sounds fine if it's not really hurting anybody. I don't really think it should be an issue, I think.
So how do you compensate for that lack of power in financial autonomy, whereas if you unionize, you actually have that power autonomy. It's just divvied out amongst so many people who are part of the union.
Thank you for continuing to watch On Point. With me, I have Professor Nate Thomas, and I have student worker Nataly Torres. Did you guys just hear about how positive everybody had to say, the positive words that people had to say about the union and unionizing and how important it is?
Yeah. It's really good to know that, we have a positive reaction all around. I've never spoken to someone who was like, oh no, I don't want a union for student workers. So, I'm pretty sure we have the support we need. Actually, we just filed 8,000 union authorization cards, which means we have more than enough to qualify for an election this year so that we could vote yes for union. And that's just from the cards we've received, but there's over 20,000 student workers, which I'm pretty sure we have majority support. So it's good to hear from people on our campus.
Professor, how do you feel about this? Hearing her speak about this, and she seems so passionate about this whole entire topic. This is something that you've lived, slept, and breathed for the past however many years that you were sharing with us. How does it feel to know that she's a budding, aspiring union worker?
Well, it's hopeful because at some point we move on and we have other folks, the younger generation, that have to take over this world. And maybe Washington, D.C. should listen to this, But it's hopeful that there are people that are just not on their phones all the time and doing games, that there are people like Nataly that are out there fighting the fight at such a young age. So that's very inspiring, and thank you for your work. But we got to count on people like you to help change this world because it's getting worse. Workplace is one thing, but our society as a whole is just getting worse, how we treat one another, the crime, and there's going to be a need for people to take over some of these positions, professor positions. Someone needs to take over, and she represents that next generation. It's inspiring, for Christ's sake.
If you could share with her any good advice, maybe with your wisdom over the years, what would you share with her?
Money's a big part of everything, and sometimes when you see the other side, it is a money thing, and you have to understand that. And when you get into unions and you get into bargaining, it's still a money thing. The employers will say they don't have the money. And so it's all about money. And as long as you understand that, it is a money thing, but it's a money thing for you as well. You have a lifestyle, and you have a life that you want to live, and you want to be able to enjoy the work that you do and be compensated for the work that you do. So, but the center of all of this is money. Be it the Writers Guild, be it the studios, be it the CSU administration, it goes down to money. Yeah, so as long as we all understand that, we'll be fine.
Hearing how this is about money, do you feel that you're walking on campus, okay, you get into your classroom, do you see the looks on your professors' faces that they're impacted by this money that he's speaking about?
Yes, and I've heard about it. They're very expressive about how that they're there for the teaching because they love it, not because they're getting paid well. Which it's always we laugh along, but it's a real issue. They are the ones inspiring us to do all the other jobs in the world, and yet they're getting very underpaid. So I feel bad, but I'm very glad that they're there.
How do you express that you're grateful for them to teach and you understand their situation? Is there any kind of exchange of words or just?
Now that you say that, I feel like I should be showing my gratitude way more. I guess just for me, it's like making sure I'm engaged. I don't want them to like get bored. You know, one of my professors, he says like, guys, like I want you to like talk in class, like I'm here because I want to inspire you guys, teach you guys. Don't make me bored and make me leave, which was a joke, but like I always try to make sure I'm like engaged, you know, make it worth it to them.
Walking onto campus, I've seen personally that there's a lot of construction going on. Do you feel like some of these buildings are going to be useful for us students?
I don't know much about the new buildings, but I'm very hopeful for them. Like they look like they're gonna be very nice. I think I saw some pictures like online, and they look good.
Have you ever gone into a classroom of yours that you felt like, okay, it needs a little bit of updating, like, whoa, what's going on here? There's not enough seats, or did you feel at all any discomfort?
Maybe not particularly for me. I've heard some things about Sierra, but for me, I've been pretty comfortable and lucky.
I love that. You're grateful.
Yeah.
Professor, do you feel like all your needs are being met?
Here on campus as a faculty?
Here on campus.
I would say, because I've been here so long, a lot of my needs are, but I'm just concerned about the newer faculty that are coming in. Their needs aren't being met. My student loans are paid. I did pay them. But we have a lot of new faculty coming in with their PhDs, and we need them, we want them, and they have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of student loans, and they can barely make their bills. And as the union president, I hear the stories, and it's sad. It's sad that that we don't value educators as much in this country. So it's not just a CSUN problem. Overall, and I think even administrators will admit that faculty are just not paid what they're worth. And so my needs after 33 years, there's you know, I'm okay, I'm fine. But I'm just worried about the newer faculty that are coming into the university, and I want them to sustain here, and I want them to be happy here. For me, CSUN was a destination campus, but we have a lot of faculty now, it's not. It's a training ground. We have a lot of faculty of color that come here, train for a couple of years, and then move on to another university system that pays them more. That's a reality. That's been a reality in various departments on campus, so that's my concern. You know, 33 years is a long time. Eventually I will leave. But I want some of these other faculty to stay as long as I did and make this great. It's a great school. I love it here at CSUN. We want to make it even better. So that's where I'm at on that.
I feel like our conversation is just the beginning. We are at the beginning. Yes, you've been involved in this for many years, but we've got, you know, these catalysts here that are willing to, you know, take this family in and make things better.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you guys for watching On Points. Again, I am Vanessa Roque. This is Professor Nate Thomas, and this is student worker Nataly Torres.